Welcome back. It's our final and probably spiciest matchup of Europe here today. It's going to be Paradigm versus Hungry for More. Adonis joined by Toli for the last set, and I think we're going to see a lot of fireworks. We even heard from Rafford there in his interview kind of talk about HFM as, you know, kind of that last team there in that upper echelon of Europe.
Ever since the last split, coming through the halfway point, coming from that 3-9 deficit, Hungry for More being led by Ataraxia with their change in the support position, PandaLike, formerly known as Frezzy, joining that squad, have seemed like a totally different team, and I wouldn't be surprised if they squeeze in the #2 spot.
I mean, HFM right now, the only undefeated team, obviously Paradigm, split with Energy, which is, you know, it kind of makes sense. It was kind of good that they could even get one game off of them with how dominant Energy has been. I mean, we saw the 2-game double shutout just in that last set. That was insane. I think that was the first time we've seen that in competitive play.
That's very impressive. Even like in some of our games when we were trolling through Challenger Cup or like the weeklies, you know, in the round of 32 or whatever.
They would get some kills.
They would eventually get some kills because we would be at a point where, you know, we were diving tier 2 Phoenixes, you know, having a little bit of fun, feeling spicy a little bit. But Energy definitely showing their stuff. They're very committed to being safe.
And for this set here, we're going to be watching the next 2 top European squads. Hunger for More, bringing out some interesting strategies here. And if there's one god we talk about in this matchup, it's probably going to be the Vulcan.
Vulcan for PrettyPriMe and Lawbster. They both lean on it very heavily. PrettyPriMe is known for the Vulcan. He has a skin for it.
Lawbster's kind of like the new generation. Okay, not to say Lawbster. It's really weird saying new generation and Lawbster in the same sentence, but Lawbster hasn't really been playing that Vulcan. It was really only PrettyPriMe when Vulcan was out of meta. With a couple changes where he gets bonus movement speed after poking people, he's starting to come back in. And Lawbster, like you said, very reliant on it. Saw a ton at Epsilon, and now 3 out of 4 games he's already picked it up here in the spring or the fall split.
It's very important to switch your style every now and then. He was known to play a lot of Zhang Kui. He's played some Hunters before, the Neith Uller with the Transcendence and stuff. But switching it up to Vulcan now with the addition, just right off the bat, recognizing that both teams likes this god, not going to be available.
The other thing we've seen a lot of is Ymir. I don't know if Paradigm really want to ban that out. They might try and abuse it, but PandaLike is a secondary jungler, right? He gets this Ymir and he just wants to invade. We saw him solo ult a red buff in one of his matches already, so he's not scared to go. I don't know if that's going to be a high priority pick, but something that Paradigm's going to have to be aware of here.
Paradigm probably leaning more towards the Robin after they picked the Kuang in the jungle. Susanoo was banned on top of this, and without the Nemesis, Kuang is a very top priority pick for we see
QvoFred. Yeah, I mean, he's already picked it up twice. You can see there he's got 1 game win with it. I think that was against Energy, if I'm not mistaken, but straight away to the Jing way for Ataraxia. He was one of the primary players to bring it out earlier. You know, when she was first kind of released, no one thought she was strong. Ataraxia said it was great. Golden Bow's gone. Everyone's like, Jingwei is dead. Ataraxia says, no, Jingwei's not dead. She's still really good.
Still has the splash attacks available, and more importantly is the rotations from the passive. You want to be able to get to lane, farm the back harpies after every single rotation just to make sure that you get that small power spike over your opposition.
Yeah, she seems really hard to shut down. Even if you force her out of lane, she can come right back. It's paired with the Ymir, and the final pick for Hungry for More in the first phase of the draft is actually a Raw. And I'm pretty sure we already noticed PrettyPriMe. He connected a 4-man Raw snipe earlier on this week.
And he's known to play these high burst gods, whether it's the Vulcan or the Ra before in the past, and synergizing it with any jungler that can find a little bit of setup, whether it's a Thor or even if it's a jungler just with the Wrath, that could still set up the Raw snipe.
And yeah, I expect PandaLike, formerly known as Frezzy, formerly known as ManaLike, whatever his name was, to be that very aggressive person trying to shut people down. Paradigm also going to be banning away the Fenrir. This is one of the other gods that we see CaptainTwig kind of play off of, and it's really about that setup. Combines really well with the Raw.
Whereas on the side of Hungry for More, banning out Xaliea, Robin, 4 games in a row he was playing it, as well as the tier not being banned. So it's going to be an interesting idea what he's going to pick. Probably going to be our Longshan, if I were to guess.
It's not. It's going to be Sun Wukong locked in. I mean, unless that's going support, and it's not because the Bacchus picked up. We have seen Xaliea play Bacchus solo, though, at Super Regionals, actually, last year. So I don't know if he wants to do it here, though. Odin locked in. So Odin, we've seen a couple times today, but with the recent... It's funny, we're seeing more Odin after the changes to Phantom.
Sure. And the reason why Phantom got changed was trying to limit some of the effectiveness of these walls. You're trying to have that AoE Phantom now. And Odin, he's not going to be as effective as a result. The composition out of Paradigm, if the Water Illusion is down, the backflip from Neith on top, it's going to be difficult to get away if you're Paradigm. And
yeah, Bacchus has a leap as well. Sudden Wukong going to have to burn his ultimate. Final pick though, hungry for more. CaptainTwig going to be on the Thor, so looking for that setup, and this really seems to be devised around PrettyPriMe, right? Let's set up PrettyPriMe to hit these big snipes.
And with the Thor, it's going to make it extremely easy. You have two different forms of CC. You have the long-range Tectonic Rift, as well as your Anvil Dawn, which is going to be a global from the Fire Giant Pit, the Gold Fury, wherever you really want it. And on the side of Paradigm, we already see the relic choices between these two Guardians. Trixtank thinking more offensively for the Curse, whereas PANDALIKE going for the Sprint.
And this is, I mean, this is great from both. Obviously, the Curse also going to be able to shut down the healing from Raw, but the Sprint is the direct counter to Curse, right? That is the worst feeling in the world, coming into lane as a support with the Curse, and you just see a Sprint on the other side.
And it seems PANDALIKE anticipated this aggression instantly from Paradigm, the perfect counter.
I think he actually went this the other game as well, where he went Sprint on. He really seems to like that Sprint on Ymir. He doesn't want the blink. He doesn't want anything, you know, the shell or the meditation. He just likes moving fast, it seems.
And against Bacchus and Chronos in the duel lane, there are a lot of opportunities for this Ymir Jing to be very aggressive. Even as soon as the Bacchus belly flops, that could be go time for the Ymir. Pop the Sprint and then try to kill the Chronos, or at least poke him out.
Looking at early builds too, PrettyPriMe actually going for the tier 1 of the Warlock Sash is what I'm assuming he's going to build into. Also gone with the Soulstone. He doesn't need the sustain from, obviously, Vamp Shroud at all.
And I like the style. You go Soulstone because you're building into the Warlock Sash. So the fact that you don't have the help from Vamp Shroud, and the long run, the fact that you're getting the Warlock Sash, it's going to help you out.
You also do get MP5 from Soulstone, which I think a lot of people forget about when you have those stacks. And PrettyPriMe just clearing the wave, sharing those mid-harpies. And this is actually going to put him ahead, although CaptainTwig did not get the split of the mid-wave.
Did not, but he's going to be able to get 2 mid-harpies unless Lawbster is able to steal one of them while the Fire Giant Elementals went to Paradigm.
He's going to try. Spirit Arrow is good. I wasn't watching XP. I'm pretty sure that went to HFM overall, though. Kind of hard to tell from the graphs, but still, CaptainTwig not level 3. No, I think Lawbster at least got 1 because he hit level 3 off of that, right?
And I think he hit level 3 off of the 1 melee minion that just died in that wave. And I like the fact that the Ra's here in mid lane going to be able to sustain the minions, making it difficult for QvoFred early game to help this Neith in middle to clear. And as a result, Hungry for More are just slightly ahead in terms of lane clear. They clear the wave and then they get their own backs before Paradigm.
You can see them already heading back into the lane, but Paradigm, their right camps are closer, so they will be able to match it pretty easily. Left-hand side, Trixtank and Funballer playing pretty passive here against Ataraxia and PANDALIKE. The Ymir obviously always kind of puts a scare into you.
On top of this, it's the Chronos in the early game, which struggles. You don't really want to fight too much. You want to try to capitalize off of the aggression of the opposition, but very careful is Hungry for More, PANDALIKE and Ataraxia.
Look at them just like hiding in the jungle, just like, and this is what we see a lot from PANDALIKE is after the wave is cleared, if he doesn't want to go for a poke, he just goes into the jungle. And he knows you don't have wards that early on, and it makes it very hard to keep track of them.
And we talk about if you're not doing anything into the either laning phase, whether it's the dual lane or solo lane, you might as well go into the jungle and make the communication call that they're missing. And that's going to put a lot of fear in the mid lane.
Variety versus Xaliea here seems like pretty much of a farm fest. Xaliea only played the Robin, you mentioned a Pix and Ban so far, on the Sun Wukong here, matched up against the Odin. I mean, is either of these players really going to have any kill potential?
Not without a jungler assistance. There is the World Weaver that you always have to worry about coming from mid. Xaliea has the better poke potential. If Variety uses his Bird Bomb jump combination, then he doesn't really have any way of mitigating the poke coming from Xaliea.
I'm pretty sure Xaliea just knocked up Variety at the end of the jump and actually canceled out Bird Bomb there.
That's perfect timing, because if you stop that jump at the last second, the damage initially from the jump gets completely negated.
Bird Bomb doesn't explode either.
The Bird Bomb gets negated a little bit. It still explodes, but because you take damage, it's not the full effect of the Bird Bomb
it's definitely significantly reduced if you take any poke right now. Both teams, though, 3 minutes in here. Doesn't seem like there's too much action. No one really trying to force anything. We're looking more for these ganks probably coming out of this Kuang and Thor. Everyone's going to be farming up with no invades either.
Not at all, but you have to worry about these globals between CaptainTwig on the Thor and Lawbster on the Neith. It's probably going to be on the solo lane as we have a rotation from QvoFred waiting for Variety to jump on the wave.
The blue buff has been taken, and you can see Thor rotating back to the mid, and Variety probably has no idea who's lurking around here. Still trying to set up QvoFred in position to gank Variety on the right-hand side of the map, but he's just going to play it safe, back off, and get his blue buff.
And Lawbster constantly looking over the right side of the minimap just to see if he should be charging his ultimate or not. And it seems that they're just going to be content with grabbing their own blue buff because they didn't see Variety.
I mean, not only the wall, but Thor's actually looping around from the side. Lawbster spots him out, just back flips away, has no intention of taking a 2v3 fight.
Trading 1-for-1 in the mid Harpies this time around instead of grabbing both of them for Hungry for More. It's going to seem that PandaLike's looking for the aggression from Paradigm, just waiting for somebody to turn the corner around those bottom left mid Harpies.
Yeah, no one going to be doing that anytime soon, though, and we actually see the full shift from HFM. Both of these teams have a lot of respect for each other. I think the matchup we saw earlier between, I believe it was Fantastic and Cringe Crew, was just slow play, not really focused around respect. Both of these teams know that at this high of a level, one small mistake could result in not the end of the game right there, but a snowball effect that leads to it.
And it's very important for them to utilize their walls on the side of Hungry for More. You have the Ymir, you have the Thor, you're trying to catch somebody out of position in the jungle.
A lot of geometry, some would say,
yeah,
totally.
A lot of geometry. They also have the Odin cage, so you have to be careful. And the warding coming out of Hungry for More, they want to spot out this rotation coming out of Xaliea because they feel that Variety can't keep up the clear because of the way he's stopping the Bird Bomb jump combo.
And it's been played perfectly so far. Xaliea has about that 300 gold lead, just putting a little bit of pressure. It's not a huge lead, but it is just enough to maybe where those item spike comes in, maybe he forces Variety back early, and because of that, he does have that possibility to rotate. And Xaliea himself, I mean, he's already placed a couple wards, I believe, and he already has 2 in his inventory as well.
Going away from the early game, thinking about the late game, but hold that thought, Paradigm, no one in position from Hungry for More, but we're going to see PandaLike contesting.
No Wrath right there, and just the immediate disengage from Paradigm. They were just trying to sneak into that point. PandaLike actually throws his wall on the Gold Fury there. For those who don't know, geometry you create actually is destroyed by the Fire Giant in Gold Fury and Titan, so he's going to have to be pretty careful when those fights break out to make sure the Gold Fury doesn't get pulled into it.
That's true. He can also try to find the wall just to push them aside, even though it's going to destroy, but the Thor's in the sky. He's going to be looking for Lawbster. Backflip not used until the purification.
This could be trouble for Twig. He does get the hammer off, and Lawbster charging the ultimate goes on PandaLike. The freeze connects still. QvoFred, Water Illusions quickly out, manages to completely negate the damage from Ymir, find the counter kill. The snipe from Raw as well trying to line up, but that's delayed him, and now Xaliea is making the rotation.
Great rotation from the Xaliea. Gonna land onto PrettyPriMe. Purification was even used. And from the side, the time stop from Funballer.
I'm pretty sure that was enough damage. Just the initial tick, along with the Bluestone from Jingo Bang. 2 quick kills for Paradigm, and what looked like HFM trying to be the aggressor.
Variety just nowhere in position to make the rotation. Xaliea utilizing his mobility with the eagle form, getting to mid lane as quickly as possible. Wanted to use the decoy to absorb those tower shots to make it a very safe dive onto PrettyPriMe.
I mean, the main thing I saw there was PrettyPrime's ult did not kind of line up with the rest of his team. We saw not only the ultimate stun from CaptainTwig, but also PandaLike got a stun on QvoFred as well. A little bit of miscommunication there on when to fire it off.
It just seemed that he wanted to wait for the re-engage from Paradigm and go from there. Paradigm was doing a great job forcing Hungry for More back. CaptainTwig took so much damage. There was no mobility on PandaLike to escape the inevitable poke from Lawbster. QvoFred was able to get away from the ultimate, and as a result, that was 3 free kills for Paradigm.
It doesn't seem like CaptainTwig wants to stop the aggression, though. He is going to secure those mid-harpies with the help of the rest of his team. No attempt on Trixtank or Lawbster's life, though. Maybe could have been a possibility there, but a little bit unsure of themselves, I think.
So with those 2 kills from Paradigm, they're going to try to keep extending it slightly. Maybe look for an invade as their buffs are coming up. Red buff still available for them. They could put this onto Lawbster. And keep looking for these plays with QvoFred, forcing the initiation by CaptainTwig, and then be very contempt about the re-engage.
I mean, the best thing for Hungry for More, though, is that despite being down 2 kills, they're not really down that much overall as a squad. It's only 600 gold difference. We're 8 minutes in. I mean, that's a couple wards, maybe one person's tier 1 of cloak, right, if you're looking at the support players, and that's it.
But this is getting to a point where QvoFred on the Kuang is getting slightly ahead of CaptainTwig. CaptainTwig just now hitting level 10, and an Kuang that doesn't get shut down early is very scary coming up the 15-minute mark or later.
Trouble on the right-hand side as Xaliea trying to dive Variety, but he gets caged in. So ult for ult, probably a win for Variety, considering that's going to be up faster, but with both TPs being down and Variety not having the health or mana, he's going to lose some golden experience.
He might even lose the tower if that's going to be a big Gladiator minute, but electing to back instead, wants to finish off the Breastplate of Valor as quickly as possible and make some rotations.
Ooh, Trix recognizing that gank there. You can see him like just holding his kind of like aiming his camera on the corner, trying to get a look before he actually walked around. And HFM actually find a good wall as well. Trix going to be blocked off, but PandaLike doesn't want to commit to the kill.
He forced a health pot onto Trixtank. He thought he was about to get frozen and turned on, so good anticipation from Trixtank.
So, question here. Onsile on CaptainTwig, first item.
He wants to get the silence off, it seems.
Yeah, so can we hover over Onsile? Because I'm pretty sure we have seen this in competitive play once. Can we hover? Okay, so we'll hover over Onsile in a bit here, but you're basically looking at the passive, right? It gives you a little bit of CDR, a little bit of physical power and protections, but every 60 seconds you have a chance to silence a mage, right?
Which is really important against Kuang, who has to be very close to you. That 20-unit radius from Onsile is going to allow you to keep 1v1ing against QvoFred if you're CaptainTwig.
And there's the only other person he has to deal with for magical damage is Trixtank, who's all going to be melee, and Funballer as well, who most of his abilities are going to be hard to hit from range, right? Unless you're looking at Time Rift.
Yeah, the Time Rift is going to do quite a bit. You're going to try to force out the rewind as quickly as possible, but forcing the goal for is Paradigm.
Prime has ult here too, so this is a very dangerous attempt. And Paradigm, once again, I mean, that's twice now. They just try and start it up. They don't have Wrath. They don't have the best secure. Outside of Bacchus ult, right, that's going to be their strongest instant burst ability. So just play it slow. If HFM answer back, or if they look like they're going to contest, we don't have to do it.
Because they committed to that goal fear, they're going to lose those right side mid harpies. The speed buff is taken by CaptainTwig. Hungry for More had a small window to maybe invade that speed buff instead of going for those right side mids, but it seems Paradigm's able to clean it up very cleanly, as well as getting that tier 1 tower on the right-hand side.
CaptainTwig in the sky here. He's going to come down once again, but the backflip and water illusion are good. Going to be trouble for Twig, though, as his hammer's already down. Root in place, and that's going to be good. Lawbster finds the kill. That's the third for Paradigm. They're going to be chasing down PandaLike as well. Good ultimate to immune the ult from QvoFred, but it had already been spent, and he's going to fall. And
the left side mid's going to be cleaned up by Paradigm. There should be free gold Fury. Those two members dead. They don't have to worry about the raw snipe to steal. Variety could make a rotation. His teleport is available.
Paradigm actually just going for the invade instead. It's going to be the stolen red buff here. Ataraxia forced out by QvoFred in the meantime, and I mean, PrettyPriMe can only watch this at this point. Might be in a little bit of trouble, and Paradigm aren't even looking for gold. They just seem they want to fight. And both of these fights were actually the exact same scenario forced by Twig.
We saw the first game, Cyclone GG against Dignitas as well. They were so much in the lead, but they didn't care about going for gold. We didn't see gold Fury from Cyclone up until the 15-minute mark. So this could be the same situation where both teams are respecting each other quite heavily. And this is why Paradigm are taking the small wins. You know, they get the left side mids, they get the red buff, and they don't want to miss out on any farm because PrettyPriMe pushed out the mid wave.
I really think it comes down to their lack of secure on their team. They don't have any instant mage burst ultimates from you know, a mid laner you normally see. And it's really the Intoxicate. Once it's spent, you don't have that, well, here's 400 damage on the Gold Fury.
Well, they had a small window because PrettyPrime's ultimate was used in the last engagement, so the steal potential would only be against
it would have been less
Ataraxia's ultimate, which is very risky.
Yeah, it's not instantly timed either, right? It's not like Rom snipes. Yeah. That's fair.
So, but either way, I still like the mentality that Paradigm has because you don't have to go for the gold. They're not behind where the point where they have to make this play. They're still taking these small marginal wins, and this is why they've got a 2,000 gold lead at the 12-minute mark.
Yeah, they've let Hungry for More force the two fights in mid lane. Both were identical. Twig comes down. Instantly, Lawbster backflips because he knows it's happening. He just reads it really well, probably has an audio cue, didn't have the wards up. And then CaptainTwig's kind of just stuck in place because we see the immediate flop come out from Trix, as well as the root from Lawbster and just enough damage from Kuang.
And both ultimates from Twig has been in the same location. It was around those right side mid harpies, and it's pretty easy to spot it from the mid lane where your camera's positioned around there anyway. If you're around the left side wall, spotting that out, you're able to backflip immediately away from the aggression.
And that's one weakness of Ymir without Blink, is that, right, if you want him to be the engage tool, it is very obvious when he's trying to engage. It's like, hey, Ymir's lumbering at me right now. I wonder what's about to happen. Wall freeze. Oh, wow. Really surprised there.
Yeah, so, but it could be a mind game where you walk up to them and you stop moving on purpose because that's what Ymir does when he freezes. He stops moving.
It just like bait their jumps and leaps? Okay.
Yeah, it's a real thing.
The solo Ymir?
It could
totally strats?
No, I mean, even Ally did it before in the support position where he would straight up walk to you, stop, and like you would use your actives because that's just what you do against Ymir that's about to freeze you late game.
And we saw that as well. No, just poke. We saw that as well today with Zeros and Tier, where he just walked at them. He's like, I'm not really going to fearless you, but you're so scared and think I'm going to.
The threat is sometimes bigger than actually doing it.
Well, speaking of threat there, PrettyPriMe willingly throwing his snipe out at mid-Harpy. So Hungry for More telling us that they don't really want to fight right if they're burning that huge mage ultimate. They're just trying to hold out right now, trying to farm up as much as possible. PrettyPriMe finishes Warlock stash, going to be stacking up, has about 72. And Funballer has a Warlock stash as well over on that Chronos. Not something you normally see.
I like the idea for the Chronos because you're trying to get off rewind guaranteed. He's probably going to be building into that wing blade. It's a different style than we're used to seeing out of Chronos. Mostly normally the glass cannon style.
More, yeah, into the wing blade.
Wing blade, you know, eventually you'll get the demonic grip, but very safe style Funballer because he hasn't had any problems in the dual lane. There was no 1v1 boxing between Ataraxia and Funballer, which is surprising to hear Funballer not dueling somebody at this stage of the game yet.
I just realized it's Funball, and he hasn't done, like, the only thing he's done is throw one ability over the wall to help confirm the kill. Ronda, who was it? I think PrettyPriMe at the time?
PrettyPriMe, yeah. And that was a great rotation
Funball
that he
has
made.
567 days. Someone who's playing on his account.
Somebody IP check him.
So someone IP check him. Because Funballer at 15 minutes with only 567 damage, like, you don't see that too often.
We need an admin on the case. But either way, I like the switch of style because you have to be able to be aggressive and passive at the same, not at the same time, but you can't be the same style every single game.
And he went for the Warlock stash, right? So he wants to farm. He doesn't really want to take the engage until he has that fully stacked up. And like you said, it's looking for that guaranteed rewind. So even if he gets ulted by PrettyPriMe, right, even if the Searing Pain connects for a big chunk of his life, that extra health from the Warlock slash stacks might just be enough to keep him alive.
Heading at the 15-minute mark, Paradigm, they're trying to counter ward. They could potentially start up the Gold Fury yet again. They've did it twice just to try to see if they can get away with it, being able to disengage. Not going to go for a third time.
HFM pretty aware, though.
Yeah, Xalia's just casually farming on the right-hand side. He's in a good spot. He has Witchblade complete as well, trying to mitigate this Thor in the backline as well as Variety.
And Xaliea has always been that very innovative player when it comes to builds, always likes to do his own thing, stray away from the meta. And Witchblade, well, it may not be best for his character. It's going to be really good overall, just kind of reducing the physical power as well as the attack speed of HFM that are close to him.
Stun onto CaptainTwig with a root, gonna force a lot of poke, and that's gonna be
no hesitation.
The World Weaver. Oh! He moved. PrettyPriMe was in line to intercept that World Weaver, but just barely.
Was it Prime or Twig?
He curved that World Weaver, man.
I don't know if it was Prime or Twig who moved, but either way, an extra pickup and now a forced Gold Fury once again. But Paradigm, they're just baiting for the fight. Sprint's going to be popped. They push forward. They have PandaLike rooted, stunned out as well. He has to ult, trying to get away. The CC immunity, it's not good enough as QvoFred over the wall finds him.
He finds the wrong target, but still get credited with the kill. Variety forced to use the jump. Meanwhile, on the backhand side, Xaliea gonna force out Ataraxia now with these two deaths. Gonna go for Gold Fury. Paradigm.
They're gonna start it up here. PrettyPriMe still with this ult, and Paradigm know that. They're already on zone duty. They've got 3 members. It's like a full 3-on-3 fight. They trust their other 2 to be able to pick it up there. QvoFred and Trix are gonna find it here. Now Paradigm, 6 kills on the board, 0 deaths, and they find themselves ahead by about 4,000 gold.
Great zoning so far. Hungry for more in the earlier week 1. They've been so dominant, finding 2 wins so far against Cringe Crew and Fantastic, but now put to an ultimate test against the more seasoned and veteran Paradigm.
And there's just, I mean, that's the difference between facing, you know, middle-of-the-road teams and top-end teams. The second they saw PandaLike out of position, all 4 members had one ability hit him. There was no hesitation, there was no delay. The call was made to dive as well. They full commit. That's where you see other teams lack, is kind of, you only see a couple people go in one at a time. That's not going to happen with the team as veterans as Paradigm.
And their composition allows them to go into PandaLike, whether it's the Chronos time stop or the root from Lawbster. They want to be able to focus him. Look how much poke he's already taking.
Just poke too. And now Trixtank's going to be able to push forward. They're all grouped up trying to heal with the Raw, but that's a sign for Paradigm. They might be able to go aggressive here. Variety jumps forward. He has his cage, but there is a Phantom on the side of Xaliea. He's going to be able to get everyone out. Trixtank finds the counter engage as well. This could be PandaLike dying for the 4th time.
Xalia's going to land on down, finding the kill. QvoFred going to execute CaptainTwig, the heal in the backhand side. PrettyPriMe with no mana. QvoFred diving in the back. Ataraxia forced to disengage.
1 health. He's trying to get away. Funballer can't find it, but Trix can. The knockup finds the kill. The 9th for Paradigm, and they are cruising through this one. Variety just trying to answer back, taking more poke than I think he expected, and Trixtank just completely reading him walking away from where he jumped to.
Beautiful teamwork. We had Funballer tank that tier 2 tower just to allow Trixtank to walk on out. Even if Variety wasn't there, just the mentality that Paradigm have as a unit. This is what you need to see players, whether or not you're in the lead, just to keep playing together.
And, I mean, that was also the going back to the beginning of the fight, that was exactly what HFM wanted, right? Variety finds the cage onto 3, PrettyPriMe finds the snipe onto 3, but still they can't pick up a single person.
Funballer didn't even need to use his rewind, instead just opted to go for the Sanctuary because he wanted to not stop the damage. He wanted to continuously be a DPS hunter, you know, get the DKP at the end of the raid.
You always got to stack that DKP, man. You always got to get it. But, I mean, Ymir right now, 4 deaths. I mean, this is one of the things that I was always worried about with this pick. I mean, obviously, PandaLike very good, and when it gets rolling, it's great. But the second he got a little bit behind, we're starting to see Paradigm really abuse that lack of mobility.
And the problem is it was Hungry for More that picked the Ymir very early in the draft. And it was very easy for Paradigm to really find this exploit. The Neith and the Chronos was immediately answered back to counter this Ymir.
The Bacchus is well really good against it, and here's a setup for a gank, a 2-man knock up the stun. PandaLike's the target once again. He's going to wall off 1, but he still gets rooted through it.
And CaptainTwig fall in the back to QvoFred. Beautifully done. PandaLike going to fall as well. This tier 2 tower in mid going to be tried to held by PrettyPriMe by the left-hand side. Funballer, now he's doing Ataraxia.
He's not going to be able to find the kill. Ataraxia backs off, but there's pressure on the tier 1. And once again, I mean, PandaLike was just pushed up with no tier 1 in the mid, no tier 1 in the right, no wards in the jungle, and just died to a Bacchus. I mean, that was very surprising to see him kind of roaming around there.
Well, it was a perfect setup by Paradigm.
It was a great
They
bait.
were waiting for the rotation coming out because PandaLike does have a sentry ward. He was trying to find the right ward that he wanted to place, but Paradigm just didn't allow it. They're playing off of their aggressive lead.
They were just completely set up for that here, and now they might be doing it again. They're actually baiting. Funballer looks like he's alone here, and PrettyPriMe might think that as well, but the rest show their heads around the corner. They take the tier 2. I mean, we almost could see another shutout, and this is not, oh, hey, Energy, you know, shut out a significantly weaker team. This could be Paradigm shutting out HFM.
Who's been looking like a solid team ever since the beginning of this fall split. They haven't lost a game quite yet, but being paired up against Paradigm, who have a lot of experience, it seems hungry for more. They need to start adapting and changing their play styles if they want to beat these top-tier teams.
We saw a lot of this very similar composition, right, centered around, you know, a lot of Odin, a lot of Ymir, a lot of walls, right? And it was great, and it was very surprising and hard for a lot of people to counter, but it seems like Paradigm now, they pick their composition to abuse Ymir, right? That was their goal, and they've done it successfully.
And what's surprising is we look at the composition from Hungry for More, and you said they abuse Ymir. I would expect them to originally try to abuse this Rob, but the easier target was the Ymir, so I love Paradigm going for that option instead of the mid laner.
The game's not over just yet. It's about a 12K lead. HFM, it will be a very long and arduous road to come back into this one as CaptainTwig going to be forced to ult. He does get up to the sky just barely. Blue buff, I believe, was stolen away, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, 21
blue buff, speed buff, excuse me.
21 minutes in, speed buff being taken away. The Thor did have to back Trixtank jumping on top just to prevent the speed buff from being picked up, but it is onto Variety now. It seems that Paradigm, they want to be very aggressive. Gold Fury's still up, and there's nobody on the left-hand side that's going to even try to sneak it.
A lost fight here could result into a Fire Giant for HFM as well, so Paradigm, they got to play it safe. They got to play it careful. Full commit onto Trixtank here. He still manages to stay alive, has the belly flop over. Variety jumps forward. There's the cage, but no one else from HFM can make their way in.
He's going to be able to walk on out. It seems that Phantom was used. Xaliea is going to go into the clouds.
HFM burned everything.
Getting a decoy up in the sky. Getting taken up into the sky was PandaLike, landing back down to Xaliea, finding the kill. Variety forced on out, does have speed buff, should be able to get away. And the rest of Paradigm, they're very content with that one kill. Yet again, focusing PandaLike.
Level 12. 6 deaths. He's been level 12, I think, for 6 minutes at this point, but very unfortunate. I mean, it's brutal to see, like, Ymir, Ares, Sylvan, it's all the same. Once you get behind, it's just very hard for you to get back into that game. But, I mean, that fight was Hungry for More. They found their option, right? It's like, okay, we got to freeze on to Trixtank here. Everyone full committed, but they just did not have the damage to keep him down. They just were just shy of having the full-on burst.
And this is why Bacchus is such a highly contested pick. What's surprising is Paradigm, they last picked Bacchus. It was Hungry for More that prioritized the Ymir over this Bacchus, and they haven't had the same success.
What did they ban in the second phase?
It was Hungry for More ban out Ravana and Tier trying to shut down Xaliea.
Yeah, doesn't work out though. Xaliea doing pretty good job of holding his own against the Odin. He's got 3 kills to his name. Not on Odin, though. Variety hasn't died yet. He is the birthday boy, too. I forgot to mention that at the start of the broadcast. Probably not the game he wanted to happen, but there's still 2 sets. There's still a chance for them to come back into this one. HFM aren't out of it. They do have a really good composition if they can get their players to level 20.
That's true. They do have the raw sustain, so as long as the team fight lasts a very long period of time, they have the poke from the Thor and the raw constantly. But the problem is there's an Kuang in Paradigm. It's very hard to survive that burst damage.
You either have to survive the burst damage for Kuang somehow, right? That we're just
Chronos.
saying somehow. But then you have to, or it's just kill him, right? You have to kill Kuang if he somehow burns a relic early on in the fight, if he somehow is out of position. But, I mean, QvoFred is not that person that's out of position too often.
Funballer not into this team fight, and as a result, Xaliea forced to use his ultimate just to add an extra member. Gonna land back down on the level 13 Ymir on PandaLike. Gonna force to use the ultimate, taking so much poke, instantly dropping.
I mean, just channeling his ultimate, he dies from the basic attacks. The cage is gonna be good from Variety, but it's not enough to stop the aggression. Paradigm, they've picked up Ataraxia as well. Variety and PrettyPriMe on full retreat. QvoFred and Funballer chasing him down. The stun is not going to connect. Fast purification, but there's still, he's just trying to buy time. It's not going to happen. He's finally slowed down. QvoFred gets it with the ult, and he might be able to find Variety if he can get the targeter in time, and he does.
He canceled the bag, actually, surprisingly enough. Doesn't find the deicide, but those 4 members are enough to get the Fire Giant, not opting to go for the tier 2. There's no possible chance for Variety to really steal this. However, he does have teleport.
Yeah, and there's a ward underneath. Very far underneath, but he's got to go now, and he actually TPs to the tower instead, so Fire Giant going to be picked up successfully, and honestly, maybe if he TPs to that ward, he has a chance, but it's still a risk. He would have been spotted out instantly.
Even if he stole it, at best, PandaLike would get Fire Giant, and yeah, that's going to be a surrender. There's really nothing Hungry for More can do to come back in. It's going to be another shutout, 3rd game in a row that we've seen, 16-0 for Paradigm.
3 shutouts, yeah, and like the last one doesn't surprise me, right? It's energy, but this one feels a little bit different. HFM was supposed to be that, top 3 team. Even Raffer said it on his interview. They can find they can find a couple games there against the top teams, but it just doesn't happen in this one. And whew.
That map efficiency is superior to Hungry for More. They were able to really exploit this non-mobile Ymir, and they were, more importantly, able to completely negate the initiation coming from Thor on CaptainTwig.
I mean, I'm looking at combat efficiency, 9 points, and so I believe F-Thought actually posted kind of the breakdowns of these, not the full formula, but a lot of it, coming to damage numbers, assist, kills, etc. And just HFM don't get a single kill on the board, and it just doesn't happen.
Well, whatever the formula is, when your combat efficiency is 3 times as much as your opposition and your map efficiency is almost twice as good, you've had a pretty great game.
We're going to watch the map control here. Here was at 5 minutes. HFM actually doing a really good job of controlling those mid-harpies, but it slowly started to shift. At 10 minutes, it's still very even. There was only a fight or 2, and I'm assuming there's going to be a spike here in the next couple graphs that we're going to take a look at.
Yeah, the mid-harpy, 75% for Hungry for More at the 10-minute mark, but it didn't matter because they did not win those important team fights in the mid lane. Every time CaptainTwig would ulti from the right side mid-harpies, the counter engage from Paradigm was just too strong, constantly exploiting this non-mobile Ymir on PandaLike.
Yeah, and Paradigm also opening up with the first Gold Fury. They got a second one as well, and finally the Fire Giant to close out the game there, and just complete domination from the beginning.
Yeah, and if I'm looking at this game from the point of view of Hungry for More, I'm like, okay, we got to change our picks and bans ever slightly, at least against these top-tier teams. We have our own style, which we can use every now and then, but you can't do it every single game.
Yeah, they basically did the same style of draft that they did against their weaker opponents in Cringe Crew. Although Cringe Crew, I think, is kind of that middle of the road, although not really looking like it recently. They did the same thing against Fantastic, and by then Paradigm, like, all right, if you're going to do it again, we have these 4 games to review and figure out where to abuse you at. The abuse point was the Ymir. Find a couple early kills on him, put him so far behind he can't make an impact anymore.
And now it's